First things first, lay all your parts just to kind of give you an idea on what needs to be done. You got the cable right here that needs to go all the way to the back of the camera. The rear camera itself, I'll just keep that in there just in case. This is the hole saw that's required, the specific size for this. And this is the locking nut with the foam deal. This goes behind the radio. Quick little install guide. It doesn't look like anything else needs to be hardware other than ground, which is pretty much going to be easy. So it looks like from the harness all the way to the back, doesn't look like there's a lot of things required. It says it does not need the red wire. I believe this is if you don't have, or if you have an aftermarket radio, I believe. But it looks like it just tees off and run the wire, and that's pretty much it. The first step you need to do is remove this bezel and kind of just plug in the wire just to make sure that the camera is working before you run anything. The only thing you would really need is one of these or one of these. That way you don't end up scratching the dash and things like that. I started just in this corner, kind of like pop it and then slowly move your hand and it'll kind of release on its own. So once you get that out, unplug the hazard button and this whole bezel is pretty much off. Once you get the bezel out, make sure you unplug the hazard button. All you have to do is push this little tab right here, push it down, and it'll release. Then you'll find 4 8mm bolts, 2 on each side. Once you get that out, pull the radio out, and we'll start doing the plugs. I would mention that these two right here are kind of a pain to reach, so make sure you have a little magnet. You don't want to be dropping all these screws somewhere behind there. So once you get that out, pull the radio out and we'll start kind of testing the camera itself. Now that we got the radio out, excuse me, you're going to be using one of these. You're going to be popping all these little panels. I'll go ahead and pick that up, but just to kind of show you, it just hooks right here. You just slowly kind of take it off and do that with the rest. Then we'll run the wires. Once you get that cover off, the first thing I would recommend doing is running a long zip tie. You already see the head right here. Just it's inside running to this channel, and as you can see, it's come out right here. That's how you're gonna route the wires. Since there's not a traditional cover or anything like that, this is the only way to do it. So this process took me a while to get the wire inside the boot. So it's running inside, waterproof, inside the channel, and then coming. So you can see I have the zip tie still attached to it. That's how you kind of have to fish it all the way up here. So start putting everything back together, and then we'll start running the wire to the front. So I was getting ready to take off the little part where the camera's gonna be mounted, and I noticed this rusted bolt right here. Every other bolt is fine except this one, so I'm not sure what's going on as far as that, but it's pretty much seized in there, so I'm gonna try to figure out how to even take this off. Hopefully nothing breaks, or yeah, because I'm not really sure why this would be rusted and the other ones are not, unless it's been replaced before and that was placed here. That I don't know, but I'll figure something out and let you know how I can take this off. I did forget to mention that there'll be 4 10mm nuts that you have to take off. Actually, no, there is 5, but I'm gonna try to. This is the 5th one, so I'm gonna try to take this off. Hopefully, it budges and not get stuck in there, because I really need to get this thing out. So I got that piece off. I did find out that that piece was broke. That's why it's rusted there. It's supposed to go on this side right here. As you can see, the tab is not even there anymore. So I'm assuming this is a aftermarket or maybe a replacement of some reason, but it is what it is. All we can do is move on. So now that I got that panel off, you will use the drill, the saw deal that comes with it, make sure you punch a little hole first, so that way it's not jumping around on you. But you will need this to mount the camera itself. So it will come like this, pretty much blank. So just try to get it as center as you can. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we got the hole drilled. This is completely optional. You can put tape on it if you want, just to kind of protect the paint from getting all scratched up from all the debris. I'll try to center as much as I can. So I'll go ahead and start mounting the camera. Make sure you put that adhesive deal in between. That way it's not making direct contact on the paint itself. So it has like a little foam type of deal. So go ahead and put that on, and we'll move on to the next step. So I got everything prepped. Got the locking nut ready. As you can see, the foam's right here in the middle. So just go ahead and insert it, tighten the nut, and center everything up. Here's another optional thing. I just put like a little ABS plastic glue around it. That way it's not moving around when obviously the vehicle is being driven and vibrating. So that's what it'll look like. It does look just like a factory one. So let's go ahead and start mounting everything up. Test everything. Before I mount everything back, I just want to make sure you guys know that you have to drill a small hole for the wires to go through. I already put silicone around it, another ABS deal, so since that is an open metal, I prefer for it to not rust. So that's kind of what you have to do a little bit. Go ahead and start mounting everything back up. Put the wire through it, and then we'll kind of test everything real quick. So far, here we are. Like I said, just run everything in there and start putting everything back together. I'll go ahead and put the camera down real quick and then mount everything. Before I kind of zip tie everything up in there securely, I just want to mention this. Please be careful plugging this in. Let me see if I can zoom in real quick. There will be an arrow right here and also an arrow on the male side. So make sure you just line that up, and because if you plug it in wrong, you can either fry the radio or fry the camera. So just make sure they're both facing the same way. Everything is pretty much secured. I zip tied everything, make sure it's not rubbing on like an edge of a metal. Got everything zip tied right here. Everything secured. I did add a little bit of loom all the way to the bottom, just for extra protection. It's not necessary, but I know there's a lot of metal down there, so just to be sure. So, but everything's zip tied in. Everything's moving. We'll move on to running that long wire all the way to the front. So I decided to run the wire, starting off by running it through this channel. You're gonna use the same tool that you used, or that you can use to take off the radio the same way. It's kind of good to have this anyway on hand. Just run it to this channel. You don't have to take this off. The wire is pretty small enough, and just kind of slowly work your way in. As you can see, no wires hanging, no gap or anything like that. And then we'll run it all along that channel, all the way to the radio. So I already got the majority of the wire ran. So you can see it's coming out here. Make sure you pull the weather stripping, and all you're doing is kind of tucking it in just under here. That way you're not taking or interrupting airbag systems and things like that. So I'm gonna go route it more right here, all the way down, and then shoot to the radio inputs. As you can see, got everything kind of started wiring up right here. This will not affect the airbag. Do not zip tie it to the airbag. I've seen that before. This is pretty much running behind it loosely. So like I said, it's not going to affect the airbag. Once it deploys, it'll deploy inward, and it won't even affect, or this wire would not affect anything. So that's kind of what you need to do. Like I said, do not zip tie it. I have seen that before. That may or may not affect the airbag from deploying. That's something I don't want to find out, and I know you don't either. So just go ahead and run it more down over there, and then we'll shoot to the radio. I kind of have the wiring kind of just sitting there getting it ready. The same zip tie you use. It's going to in between metals. So it's already kind of prepped right here, just to kind of show you. Just slowly pull it up. And what you're gonna do is zip tie whatever's loose wire underneath, and we are getting close to getting done. Not that I got the wire running through here. I just put a little loom in there. Again, extra precaution, that way it doesn't rub on any metal. So we are almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and start wiring it to the actual harness, and then we'll test everything out. Make sure you have a heat shrink, that way it doesn't accidentally touch any metal. I already got the wire tagged in. It doesn't look like you need this ground. I think if you have like a radio interference or a video camera interference on the video quality of it, I think you hook it up to this. But I will leave it open just in case. So I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie everything more, just to kind of get a general idea. That's where it's gonna be zip tied, and I'm gonna zip tie the harness right here, so it's not dangling around everywhere. But overall, it's pretty much on the home stretch. Everything is completely almost done. So hopefully everything works out, and I'll let you guys know. Here's the end result. Zip tied. Radio needs to go back in. I was almost putting it back together, and I forgot to zip tie all that, so took it back off. Zip tie it all together so nothing's dangling or hitting everywhere else. Plus, this is kind of how you should be doing it instead of it being so loose behind the dash. So yeah, and make sure when you lean your radio, put a mat in there, that way you don't scratch up the dash. I've seen people do that, and it ends up gouging little nicks in little areas of the dash itself that obviously you can't just fix without replacing that dash piece. So yeah, put the 8mm back bolts, test everything out. So here's the quick check. The tailgate is still up, so reverse, park. Everything works great. Start putting everything back, and you are all done. Just doing a quick check. Radio on, reverse. I do like the little guidelines, so that's pretty nice. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something on this one. It does work with a lot of different Toyotas. I will take a picture of it, but this one's mainly a 2015 Toyota Prius C, or 2013 actually. So it's a Prius C compact. Overall, it's pretty nice, clear quality. I would highly recommend that Crux kit that you order from Amazon. So overall, it's worth it. Before I end this video, I just wanted to show you the other vehicles that this thing fits on. Obviously the Scions, the Subaru, and all the Toyota. So we are at the 2012-15 Prius. Overall, it's pretty nice. It's from Crux RVC TY-71. Here's the finished product. The only thing that I would recommend as far as before you secure this, when you have this off and then you place the camera itself, your instinct would automatically follow this curve. So with that being said, when you're looking at this, you're initially going to put the camera the same way as the curve. The only downfall on that is if you put it like that, it'll kind of project the view from this angle, because it is following this. So what I did was I put it in there, and before I fully tighten it, I kind of made it go counterclockwise. That way it's fully centered, you can see. Because right now, if you don't do it that way, this would be your view, and you don't really want that. You want as straight as possible. But overall, it works great. Good job, Crux, for doing this quick and easy install.